Hello there and welcome to another video from Change Tips and Tools, and this is step 6 of the Date Checker Working with Dates series. Now, due to the overall length of this step, I've decided to split it into two parts. So this video, step 6, will focus on the linked pictures and the linked text boxes to drive our dynamic activity visuals, and part 2, or step 7, will then be the final part of this series, I promise, which will focus on the piece of Visual Basic that then pulls all the automation together for our end user experience. So let's do this. So this is where we left off in step 5. And a copy of that file can be found in the description if you wish to use it to follow on in this video. And also there is also a link to the video of step 5 in the description as well. So we've now got our activity calendars defined for the selected month, the next month and the previous month. And what we need to do now, so first of all, make sure on the review tab that you unprotect the sheet and make sure that the workbook is not protected. So if the workbook was protected, it would look like that. Just make sure it's not protected. And then what we're going to do, we need to have our Date Checker activity support visible. And we also need to have our Date Checker, so the Date Checker activity support, should I say, visible, as well as the Date Checker support visible. In fact, nothing should be hidden at this point. So what we're going to do now is, if I bring up on the home ribbon, and let's bring up the view, the selection pane here. And over here, so if I've got the next month, the selected month and the previous month visible, is first of all, we want to know how many activities are in each of these months. So we can then click on that month if we wish, if we can see there's a number of activities, and then see it in one of the relevant Date Checker calendars with activities that we've created, that visual. So that's what we want to do, and then we want to be able to hide that and select any one of these, and it'd be context sensitive to bring up those various different calendars. So what we're first going to do is we want to create something that counts the activities in each month accordingly. So let me just close that down for a second, and I'm going to go to the Date Checker activity support tab. So we want to count the selected month activities, previous, and the next. And I'm keeping this in the same order that we've got everything stored here as well. Selected, previous, and month, and so on. Okay. So, and then we want the actual date. So we want the date as a reference. So we need to know what date or range we're counting. So for example, here in August, we want to know the start of August and the end of August, and count any activities that are in here that fall within that. So we want an activity count here. Just make that a little bit wider. So let's use the date function to get these dates here first. So let's do equals date. We've done this many times now in this template. I'm going to go to the Date Checker support. I'm going to select the year, which is the first argument. We don't need to make it absolute because I want to copy it to the right. So I'm going to do comma. So we now want the month, comma, and then I'm going to put 1 for the first day of that month, and I'm going to close that bracket and hit return. So there's the 1st of August. So let's copy that to the right, drag it to the right, make those a little bit bigger, and there you go. So you've got July for the previous month and September for the following next month. So now we've got that reference point, we're going to use the COUNTIFS function combined with the index function. So and the reason being is we want to make it dynamic, and the index function allows us to make the range dynamic within that COUNTIFS function. So let me show you. So I'm going to do equals. So COUNTIFS allows us to do multiple criteria, and obviously we want to understand how many activities are equal to or greater than the 1st of August, or how many activities are less than or equal to the last day in August. And the way that we do that is go equals, COUNTIFS. So the first criteria range is where we're going to use the index to generate the actual range within the COUNTIFS. So I'm going to do index. I'm going to select A2 here. Let me just move this out of the way so you can see what's happening. And then I'm going to do F4 to make it absolute, and then I'm going to do hash so it selects the whole of that spill range. So that's the array. I don't want the row argument, don't need that, but I want to look at column 2, which is the date. Then I'm going to close the bracket. So that's my criteria range 1. As far as the criteria range, I'm going to do comma. So criteria 1. This is going to be, you need to put your operators in quotation marks. So I'm going to do quotation mark. So where it is greater than or equal to, close that quotation mark, do the ampersand, and then select this cell here, J2, which is the 1st of August. So that's my first criteria. My second criteria range is going to be that date range again. So again, I'm going to do index, open bracket. So the array is going to be A2 again. I'm going to make that absolute because I don't want it moving. I'm going to do hash to select the whole of the spill range. I'm then going to do comma, ignore the row arguments, and then I'm just going to put 2 for column 2, just got the date in, and then do comma again. And this time I want my second criteria is going to be in quotation marks again, where it is less than or equal to. I'm going to do the ampersand, and I think in step 5, I showed you and introduced you to the end of month, a tip there where to get the end of month. So that's what we're going to use here. The end of month function is going to be that date. And again, we're going to do, as far as the month, we're going to do 0. So that'll then give us the last day in August. And I'm going to close that bracket. I'm then going to close the bracket on the COUNTIFS and hit return. So there we go, it's counted 6. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, so 6. There you go. You've got 6 activities in August. So it's picked them up. Now, we constantly need to allow for the fact that this, being dynamic, there might not be any activities, and therefore we're going to get an error here. So to cater for the error, we're going to wrap this in an if error. So I'm going to do if error. And if there is an error, just return a 0. So comma 0, and then close that bracket. And then on the front of this, I'm just going to add a bit of text, which will then go into our description box on our date checker. So what I'm going to put here is in quotation marks. So activity count for month, I'm going to do colon, space, then I'm going to close my quotation marks, and I'm going to do the ampersand. And there you go. And if I hit return, it's now giving me that text. So the activity count for month is 6 there. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that across. Let's make these a little bit wider so we can see them. So now we've got the dynamic counts, and obviously these will adjust based on what we select and what data's here. So we've now got that done. Let's create our text boxes that are linked to these values here. So I'm going to go to the date checker, and what I'm going to do is here I am just going to do insert, the insert ribbon, text box. Let's just draw a text box here like so, and then in the formula bar of that text box I'm going to do equals, and I'm going to point it to selected like so, and I'm going to hit return. And with this still selected, I'm just going to change the font to be 14. Oh, there you go. Let's make it middle and aligned in the middle and make it bold. So we've got that there now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it again. I'm going to do Control D to duplicate it. I'm going to do that twice. 1, 2. And I'm just going to put one over here. And let's put another over here for our next month. Yeah. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the top. And because this is to the right of the top, what I'm going to do, Control, because I don't want those moving, because remember in the previous video we evenly distributed them horizontally. So I'm going to do on the shape format, align, and I'm going to align it to the left, and the bottom one should move in line with that. And let's do the same for these two. There we go. Then I'm going to hold down my Shift key, select these. And all I'm going to do is on the shape format, just align them to the bottom so they're all aligned as well to the bottom like so. Perfect. So this one, we need to change this to be the previous month. So again, I'm just going to do equals and point it to the previous month, which is going to be the next one along. And hit return. Don't worry about the formatting. And then I'm going to take this one here and I'm going to point this one to the next month and do equals the next month and hit return. So now I've got the values in here. I'm going to take this and on the shape format, I'm just going to get rid of the outline. No outline. Yeah, so that's gone. So with that selected on the home ribbon, I'm just going to do Format Painter, select this one. I'm then going to select this one just to repeat that last step. And there you go, F4. So I've pressed F4 to repeat the last step there, function 4. And there we go. So now what we need to do is we need to give these names. So I'm going to bring up my selection pane. Let's take this first one here. So that's the previous month. I'm going to double click on it. And the name I'm going to give it is TXT, lowercase, and then do PREV month. And hit return. And I'm going to select text box 4, which is this one. So I'm going to double click on that. I'm going to call that TXT next month and hit return. And then finally, text box 3 should be the selected month. So again, let's change that to TXT selected month and hit return. So those are all now named. So I'm just going to hide these now. And let's hide the calendars themselves, like so. And we just need to update our code now to make, so when we click, so we just hide that out of the way, selection pane. So when we do view calendars, hide calendars, we want it to include those text boxes. So I'm going to right click, do view code, and on the MC date checker module here, I'm just going to double click on that. So this is the show and hide. So all we need to do now in this section where we're making the calendars visible or we're hiding the calendars, so we just need to take a copy of this one. So the first one's where we make them visible. So I'm going to go select that, do Control Copy, to return. I'm going to do Control V. And because we've named them exactly the same, all we've done is just put a TXT in front of them. So I'm just going to change that text there to be TXT. And then lastly, for the next month, I'm going to make that TXT. Done. Let's take this one here where we hide them. Copy those. And I'm going to paste them below. And again, just change the selected there. Make these TXT. Select that one, make that TXT. And finally make this one TXT. And let's do debug, and I'm going to compile. Yeah. So let's go back to Excel here and let's test it. So now when we do this view calendars, yeah, if I've got this one selected here and we do view calendars, we should see, and there you go. So we've got the counts here. Wonderful. So one thing I do want to do, so I'm just going to do a review. I'm going to unprotect this sheet, yeah, and I'm going to just select these now. Hold down the Shift key, and then I'm going to do Control 1, and on the properties here, I'm just going to make sure it does not move or size with cells. Boom. And now if I just go up to here, hide, job done. Wonderful. So that's done. The next thing we need to be able to do now is when we view this, yeah, is we want to be able to say, oh, there's six activities here. Let's click this calendar and let's see the relevant. So if I selected this one, we want this to appear in its place, right? So to do that, again, I'm just going to make sure the protect workbook is off because we need to unhide the date checker support because we need to set this value here shortly. So what I'm going to do is on each of these, I'm going to assign a named range to each of these. And the way that I do that is I'm going to select it. So this is the date checker previous month. I'm going to make sure I've selected the whole of the calendar like so. Yeah. And I'm up here. I'm just going to type RPREV month like so. And then hit return. So I've now created that name range as R, lowercase r, uppercase P, REV, uppercase MONTH, and that's a name range now in the sheet. So let's do the same for the next month here. So I'm going to select that, highlight the, make sure I've got the whole of the calendar selected, and here I'm going to do R and do next month and hit return. And there you go. So R next month. And then finally, let's do the selected month. And again, I'm just going to highlight that. Make sure I've got it all selected. And do R selected month like so and hit return. So what I want to do now is I want to get this visual on there. So I am going to go to my, again, on the review, I'm just going to unprotect this sheet and then I'm going to go home and do selection pane. And I want the selected, I don't need these visible. I don't need the next month visible. I don't need the selected month, but I want the previous month visible just so I can align with this when I copy and paste a link picture. So let's use the previous month. I'm going to select this. And I'm going to do Control Copy. I'm then going to go to my date checker and just right click anywhere in here. Yeah. So select a cell, right click, and here I'm just going to do link picture there, or you can do paste special here, and you can do link picture here. Yeah. So at the moment it's got this range here. Don't worry about that. So all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to make sure this is aligned. Right, that's fine. And then I'm just going to get rid of the previous month like so. Now this picture, we've got Cal, we've got picture 9. I'm going to give this a name. Now I'm going to call it Cal Activity. Yeah, and hit return. So I've renamed that as Cal Activity. The other thing that I'm going to do here now is I want to get this to dynamically point to something. And the way that I'm going to do that is, whilst I'm still on the date checker, I'm going to go to Formulas, Name Manager, and I'm going to do New. So let's move this down a little bit, and I'm going to do New here. And I'm going to call this RCal Select, like so. And if you remember, the indirect function, which is what we're going to use here, converts a text to a range. So we're going to do equals indirect, open bracket. I'm going to go to the date checker support. I'm going to point it to this cell here. And I'm going to close the bracket and click OK. And then I'm going to do close. And what I'm going to do is, on the date checker support, I'm going to type in here R selected month in that B10. Yeah. And when I go to date checker and I change this picture and go to the formula bar and say this equals R cal select, that's got that indirect function in there. Watch what happens to this picture now. I'm going to do return, and it automatically picks up the R selected month range, which has got this visual in. Those cells contain this visual. As far as the link picture functionality, perfect. So that's what we want. I'm then going to go Control 1, and then here within the size and properties, again, I just don't want it to move or size with cells. Select that, and then I'm going to close that down. So I'm now going to create another button here. So the button that I want to create here appears with this, and then we use that to hide this calendar, and then to get our summary calendars to come up. Yeah. So click off that, and I'm going to do Insert, Shape, again, the square with the round edges. Let's draw it like so. And I'm going to put some text in here in uppercase, hide activity, like so. I'm going to make the text 20. But no, let's do the format first because it will reset it. So let's go with this one here. And let's then go home, and let's make that text bold, middle, and then align it in the middle. And then what I'm going to do is, on the shape format, on the shape effects, choose this preset here, first one. Wonderful. So there's that button. Yeah. So it's this rectangle here. So let's just rename this. Yeah. And let's call this hide. Let's take the caps lock off. Hide underscore activity. Yeah, and hit return. So we've now got our objects here. All we need to do now is write the code. And that's the next bit that we're going to do. So as I said at the start, I'm going to split this video into two. So we've done the visuals and got them prepped. The next one will very much focus on the Visual Basic. So I hope you found this video helpful and informative. And if so, please remember to click that like, subscribe, and smash that notifications button for future content. And as always, I wish you an absolutely wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Please take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video from Change, Tips and Tools. Bye bye now.